pleasure to welcome John Peddie to share his perspective on the embedded vision opportunity in augmented reality. John?
That is not 16 by now. Sorry.
False advertising.
Hi, good morning. Wow. So I hate to hide behind a podium, but I didn't prepare well for this talk. So, is it safe to assume that everybody has a reasonably good understanding of what augmented reality is? Since no one said no, I'm going to assume that's a yes. I'm so happy for this little character because I don't have to explain augmented reality anymore. I've been giving speeches and writing papers about augmented reality for almost 20 years now, and it usually starts with augmented reality is, now I just say Pokemon, they go, oh, I get it. So this is my little buddy, he helps me out a lot. So come forward. So Jeff gave me some guidelines that he asked that I would be sure to hit high points with regard to what augmented reality is. It's an important topic to me. As I mentioned, I've been looking at it for quite some time, no pun intended. And I think it's going to totally change our lives completely. But it's not a trivial subject. It's far from an easy subject. And it's also not an easy technology. And so if you think virtual reality is complicated, square that and you start to understand the problems in augmented reality. And I hope that chart's visible from the back. And as Jeff said, these slides will all be available to you, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. The suppliers in this market are just exploding. And that's typical of an emerging market. I was commenting to a friend of mine earlier this morning that back in the day, back in the mid-90s, I had 75 clients who were building or said they would build a 3D graphics chip. Today I have 4 clients in that category. And the point being is that it's normal for a market to have this explosive growth of suppliers rushing in, seeing an opportunity, hoping they can do it. Most of them fail. Some of them get acquired by other folks, and a few of them just move on to something different altogether. And we're at that stage now in both augmented and virtual reality where we're having an explosion of people entering the market. And you can add these numbers up and see what I'm talking about. And more are coming, by the way. One of the benefits of this job I have is that people seek me out when they're starting companies, and so I have a little bit of forward vision of what's coming. There's probably 5 other companies that are entering augmented reality this year. Whether or not they'll make public announcement about that is another subject. So we have several examples of how augmented reality is implemented. And that in itself is a bit of a problem because most people tend to think that it's just simply smart glasses, but it is much more than that. And you have to kind of keep that in mind when you say augmented reality because it's going to extend all the way from, as you can see, helmets and eventually down to contact lenses. And time permitting, I'll discuss with you what the contact lens model is. But I also want to mention to you about the helmets in the upper right-hand corner there. The best example of an augmented reality helmet that I can think of is the F-35 helmet. And you can get one of those today for only $100,000. And if you want to leave right now, place your order, I'll wait for you. So that's one example. The other example, which is the one that I am looking forward to, is this one. This is going to be the consumer model. And that's what I think we will all wear. And the consumer model was perhaps prototyped by Google with Google Glass. It was a failure, and it was a failure because it called too much attention to itself and to the wearer. And it was fun if you were a geek and you wanted to show off your geekiness and so forth. It wasn't a particularly well-designed product either. That's neither here nor there because it was early days. But the ultimate is going to be that I'll put on a pair of sunglasses. You won't even notice that I have sunglasses on, and I'll be able to get information in real time with those sunglasses or whatever kind of glasses they are. This particular one is from a company called LaForge, and they're proposing to make prescription glasses that are augmented reality glasses, and they hope to be on the market this year, believe it or not. They're taking orders now, and so if you like that, you can get some of those. So that's where I think we're all going to head. And I was thinking about if we all were wearing augmented reality glasses, would we need that screen? Or would we just look at our glasses? And if we weren't looking at the screen, where would we be looking? So maybe we'd lose our focus in a meeting like this if we didn't have that screen. Here's an example of some of the companies that have announced. Emphasis here would have announced. Here's an example of how many are actually building something. And call your attention to Ron's website, Augmented Reality Smart Glasses. And I have a URL for you at the end. You don't have to take a picture, you got these slides. But in any case, Ron's done a really good job of keeping track of these things, and his site's wide open, so the information's there to just take. And then here's what we think is going to be shipping a little bit later this year. And you notice a whole bunch of other bright yellow ones didn't pop up because it's hard. This is a very hard technology. The VCs are excited about this when they see this many companies flooding in and they can recognize the opportunities. They're looking at it. And here's the companies that VCs think are important. I will make value judgments. Some of these companies are highly questionable with regard to whether they're going to be able to fulfill their promise or not, and have attracted enormous amounts of investment capital. Others are really going to, I think, make the move. And I'm surprised that the VCs don't find LaForge interesting. So how big is this market going to be? Well, it's going to be as big as you want it to be. And what I mean by that is, the thing in market forecasting, and mind you, I'm a market forecaster, so I can say this, the thing in market forecasting is you can have any forecast you want. You just have to tell the forecaster what it is you want. And it's the old joke about the who's the best accountant. And I'm not going to tell a joke because you all know it, but it's the same thing's true in market forecasting. And so here's some numbers that have been put together by various firms. Here's some numbers that have been put together by various firms. And again, I'm not going to make any particular comment about their numbers, only to call your attention to the bottom line there, which is our number. And the point of this is that we do things a little bit differently in my firm. Is we count units of pieces of hardware, and we don't extrapolate that to software development or to maintenance or to anything else. And so this is what we think is going to be the actual realizable business in augmented reality over the next few years. And we've also been traditionally conservative, and I'm happy to say we've been pretty much right most of the time too. Our VR forecast, which was scorned by many, has been proven to be right. And Jeff mentioned this company also. Here's their market size numbers. I like this chart personally because they break it down by application. And this is their estimation as to where the money's going to flow for various application types. And notice how big the hardware segment is. That's one of the reasons I like this chart. So here's what's happened. This is the population of companies, and I was mentioning to you about the growth of the population and how it rises when opportunities are recognized. It's interesting to note that Pokemon kind of came in late, and we thought that that was really going to make things explode. It didn't, because it's so easily implemented on a mobile phone, so it doesn't require any special hardware. So nothing new really had to be built to play Pokemon. So I'm ripping right through this. I may hit Krause's speed record. So the augmented reality market has been supported to date by the industrial military complex, and I don't want to say industrial military in the sense that they're tightly linked. I mean that there's industrial applications and there are military applications. And that's been where the primary money has come from for buying these things, for funding R&D, and for moving the market up. The market's also benefited greatly from the reduction in sensor cost due to the mass production of smartphones. And so whereas we can now get very small, very accurate, very fast, and very cheap optical sensors, broad spectrum from IR on, for literally a few dollars. 5 years ago, that same thing would have been hundreds of dollars. So that's really helped the augmented reality, and it's also helped get us closer to this consumer product that I'm looking forward to, because the parts now are so small and they use such little power. So here's what I think is going to happen going forward is that the smart glasses are going to become less inconspicuous, and as they do, they will become more attractive and useful to the end users, to the consumers. And yeah, we possibly will have contact lenses for augmented reality. The point I want to leave you with about that, and I don't want to go into this too deeply, but the thing to keep in mind here is that you can't see something that's right here. You just can't. So for a contact lens to be an effective augmented reality device, it's going to have to be a projector. It's going to have to project inward into your eye. And that's not a terrible thing. It's not a troubling thing. We do that now. The problem is going to be how do we power the damn thing? That's where the trick is going to come into. So, but I think it'll happen. I think it truly will happen.
Hey, John,
Yes.
are you taking questions now or later?
Ask the boss.
Up to you.
That's like I come.
Can I? I don't know. Yes, I can.
So given that the swap doesn't change materially on the smart glasses, what creates the inflection point in 2025?
This is where I think that we start to get the consumer acceptable apparatus where we can wear it and not be embarrassed by wearing it, by not calling attention to ourselves. So if I were wearing corrective lenses right now, you wouldn't think anything about it. Right? Well, there's nothing to say that I couldn't be wearing corrective lenses that were giving me AR information simultaneously. But it would be okay with me and you because you're used to seeing me wear these glasses and you wouldn't even be aware that I was getting information. The only thing that might trouble you is if you were keen enough to be able to see if there was a pinhole in this that had a camera and that I was photographing things.
So even though there's not a big difference from 1 to 0.9, there's still some advancements in the hardware that's required.
Yeah, lots of it, yeah. We've got to get the power down. We've got to get the power down. That's the primary part. We've got the technology. We know how to do all this. It's powering it and making it so that it's not obnoxious.
All right, thank you.
But you said something that made me want to go a step further. Now I can't remember what it is. The camera. So the camera in Google Glass offended people, which astounded me. Because if I were to do this, smile, you have no problem with it, right? If I use this to take a picture in any situation, no one has a problem with it. But I've got a camera on my face, suddenly it's a problem. And I don't understand that dichotomy. That just is a cultural thing that doesn't connect to my brain as to why that should be such a thing. So we will have these cameras in our glasses, and we will use them to great personal benefit. Think of it as being your personal black box. Anything that happens to you is now being recorded. So if you're encountering someone who's being rude to the point where they're physically abusing you, you have a record of it. Likewise, if you're being a jerk, you got a record of that. So I think that's going to change life dramatically. And I'm going to run out of time if I get too much in my lecture mode. And so this is a build, be patient. This is not my computer. My computer is much faster. Boy, this is really slow. I can't speed it up at all. So basically we have two types of AR. We have the optical see-through and the video see-through. I have difficulty with the video see-through, is calling it really AR. Some people call it mixed reality. Other people think of it as being a blend between virtual reality and augmented reality. But coming back to our favorite toy, this is a video see-through AR device. I can hold this up and find Pokemon, for example, right? So I have to look at this, which is obscuring my vision, while I look at this to see what it's seeing. So that's an easy difference in that model. But there are also examples of this in helmets, especially for people who are in hazardous conditions or who are doing dangerous jobs like welding, for example. So there's a place for video see-through in AR. And as you can see, the key to all these things is the camera. The camera, whether it's photographing what you're seeing at the same time you're seeing it, and not impinging on you, or whether the camera is your source of information. That's not mine. Shouldn't be. It is. I thought I turned the damn thing off. I used to have a slide, and the slide had a picture of a phone with a red X through it, and I'd start my speech and I'd say, "Turn off your cell phones." And one day I did that, and mine rang. I thought, okay, we're getting rid of that slide. So here's another breakdown. Now, augmented reality isn't limited to just vision. There's also augmented reality, which is just audio. And there's a couple of examples that will be coming to market soon. In fact, Intel is funding one of them, where you'll get information, but it'll be audio information, and it'll tell you where you are, what's going on, how fast you're moving, how fast your heart's beating, things of that nature. So don't restrict your imagination to thinking of augmented reality as only being a vision thing. So the camera, as I mentioned, is critical, and I don't know how deeply you guys are involved or interested in augmented reality, but the position of where you are, the location of where you are, which is a three-dimensional problem because we could be on the 7th floor right now. Kill that thing.
I tried.
I could swear I turned it off. And where you are looking. These are all dimensional problems that have to be solved in real time, and real time is measured in tenths of milliseconds in this case, and you need a very, very fast, very high resolution, multispectral camera or cameras to do it. And so the vision aspect of augmented reality is enormous. And to Case's point, that's the key, I think, to getting this right, is that we have to have a really, really good vision system, whether it's an optical see-through or video see-through, in order to make augmented reality serve us the way I hope it's going to. So, cameras, where to mount them? We could use as many as, no joke, 5 cameras in an augmented reality headset, and there are some examples of doing that. Think of 2 for depth, 1 for IR, 1 for UV, and 1 for visual. And each one of those will serve a different job, as I'm sure you can appreciate. And so you can envision that you're out and about, and maybe you're looking for dead foliage, trees that are dying, or maybe you're looking for pollution, or maybe you're looking for underground heat wells that are going to be dangerous to you. And you need dimensional information at the same time to know what's going on. So the camera opportunity in augmented reality is enormous. They have to be small, they have to be lightweight, they have to be very high resolution, they have to be very fast, they have to be very cheap, and they can't use any power. Not a problem. So what are the challenges? Well, that's probably the biggest one. There's interesting side effects. People who use smartphones rely on the smartphones to the point that they are willing to take more chances because they think they are safer because of the information they're getting from their smartphones. There's an analogy with regard to braking systems in automobiles. When we first got the anti-skid braking system, people suddenly realized they could be a little more dangerous in their driving. And the good news is we did learn how to drive more dangerously as a result of this, and better suspension systems and so forth. So the same thing has happened in smartphones, and it will also happen in augmented reality, but it even goes a step further. And the step further is, not only do I want a lot of information, I also want to be rid of some information. I'd like to walk down the street and never see a sign. I have 20 minutes to go?
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, I could tell my wife's story in 20 minutes. I'll finish early.
Dance routine. Hold the tongue. Come on.
I'm trying to keep up with his record. So anyway, you walk down the street and you have the opportunity, the option to obliterate things that are offensive to you. Now that could be garbage on the street, it could be a darkened area, so now the area could be lit up. Here we go back to our IR sensors in the phone, or in the glasses. So now the area can be lit up for you, so you can see stuff that you normally couldn't see at night. So the augmented reality glasses that we, I think, will all one day wear can genuinely augment our lives and give us better vision, better safety, better comfort, and just better ease of mind, if you will. But there's good and there's bad news with anything. So I think maybe most of you probably have seen the movie The Terminator. At least I hope you have. So that's an example of what they thought the Terminator would be able to do. And this is a contact lens augmented reality system that he had, which was giving him data about how to deal with various situations that he encountered. Now, the thing that's neat about this is that movie came out about 15 years ago. So whoever wrote that had, no pun intended here, had a great vision as to what the future could be. I think that's a fantastic example of science fiction leading science and saying, hey, think here. Here's another example. This is a great video, by the way, if you haven't seen this video. I was going to play a video. I didn't know if I had the option of time. But in any case, what happens here is, and there's a couple of videos like this, by the way, about augmented reality, where people are walking down the street or going through life and you're just inundated with information. So this is the extreme of what augmented reality could be, where you're just overflowing with information about everything that's coming at you, advertisements, your schedule, people who are calling you, things you forgot to do, et cetera, et cetera. It's not going to be either one of those. The information will be there if we want it. If we don't know how to control it, like we don't know how to control it right now on our phones sometimes, that we just get too many messages about things, then that's a shame on you. But the information is definitely going to be there, and whether you mitigate it and manage it, that's going to be up to you. All right, so I mentioned to you that Google Glass failed, and it failed for a variety of reasons. I don't want to pick on Google. I think they did a great job in establishing a concept and in making the world aware that one could wear smart glasses and get some benefit out of it. So for that, I applaud them. The pioneers, the one who always gets the arrows. I think Google got a few in their back on this one. They're bringing out a new version of it. They're going to target it for the industrial commercial sector, not try and make it a consumer product. I think that was a big mistake. And it'll get use. And the thing about Google that I like a lot is they just don't quit. They just keep working on stuff and keep doing stuff. I think it's a really tremendous company in terms of its contribution to science and technology. The hard part is going to be the consumer, the actual consumer. That's where the volume will be, and that's where the biggest challenges will be. When we look at augmented reality for a specific industrial application, it's pretty easy. We can kind of focus on what that problem is going to be. You're going to hear an example about using augmented reality for, I don't want to tell a story, but for finding problems with airplanes. And you'll hear about that in a minute. Well, that's a very, very specific, you could even say esoteric problem, but it's exactly how this industry is going to expand. We're going to solve one specific problem after another, after another, after another. And the one thing about augmented reality is that one size doesn't fit all. This isn't like a PC that you can do a gazillion different things with and everybody's happy. This is all going to be very specialized for a long period of time until we get to that consumer model that I'm looking forward to. So what's the good side? Well, the good side is I'm never going to forget your name again. I have trouble remembering my kid's name. And I know that sounds like a facetious remark, but it's true. I try to explain to my kids that I have a defect. I am missing the noun gene. I just don't have it. And so names are difficult for me. And I made the stupid mistake of naming my 3 daughters all with the letter M, Meredith, Marie, and Mary. So I go, nah, 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 nah. And they think that's very amusing too. But I also have trouble remembering other names. Just about, we consume so much information, keeping track of everything that we know is difficult. I'm not going to have that problem anymore. I'm going to become the smartest, most interesting person you have ever met. I'm looking forward to that. And a little sidebar story. So there's a guy by the name of Todd who was a grad student at MIT. This is a true story. In the late 90s. And he was a typical nerd kid who wasn't very popular. He'd go to parties, but he wouldn't be very interesting to people. Good-looking guy, gentle-spoken, intelligent, but just wasn't gregarious, didn't know how to do things very well. And he came up with the idea of taking an information database with him, and he got a pair of glasses, and he built a sling-mounted 486 PC, no joke, and he had a little handheld keyboard thing that he built. And so now he'd go to a party, he'd see someone, he'd clickety-click, and he'd say, "Hey, Jeff, how's that new car of yours working out? Did you get that dent taken out of the back? And by the way, isn't your daughter's birthday coming soon?" And suddenly, he's talking to people about people. Well, what makes a person more interesting in the world than if they talk about you, right? So now he became really popular. This is an honest-to-God true story. He became really popular, and he's finishing up his graduate program, and it came time to give his presentation for his thesis people. And the professors who were evaluating for his PhD suddenly got into a debate. Now, he called this thing that he carried with him all the time, he literally carried it with him all the time, he called it Lizzie, like in Tin Lizzie. I don't know if anybody knows that reference. It goes back to old Ford cars. Anyway, so he called it Lizzie, and he had declared that he was, he and Lizzie were one. So now the PhD evaluation professors are saying, well, if we give Todd a PhD, don't we have to give one to Lizzie too? They were deadly serious. This was a serious discussion they had. And they finally resolved the issue by saying, no, we don't have to award a PhD to Lizzie because Todd has said he's always going to have Lizzie with him. So everything is cool now. Now, how am I doing on time?
You have 15 minutes.
Oh, okay. I'll be galliing the stories all day long.
Including Q&A, John.
I'm sorry?
That's including your Q&A.
Okay, I'll stop in a second. I just want to tell you another story. So back to Todd again. So the father of AR is a fellow by the name of Steve Mann, who I'm proud to say has written a foreword in my book. And Steve has worn glasses forever and a day also, and there's a story about him getting in trouble in the McDonald's in Paris. Won't tell that story. But Steve and I can't pronounce this guy's name, the guy that runs ODG, makes glasses, and Todd all were giving lectures at a conference. It's no joke. Steve Mann, father of AR, came out wearing these glasses, right? And he's going blah, blah, blah. I'm going, wait a minute, that's wrong. The president of ODG didn't even wear anything. He just came out and did what I'm doing, looking at the slides. Only Todd came out wearing glasses and used them the whole time for his references for his speech. And so the question is, well, do you believe in AR or don't you? The problem with Steve was, he's a delightful guy, but he's lazy. He hasn't upgraded these glasses in 10 years, so they don't work that well anymore. All right, so I'm just about cleaned up here. It's a fantastic market. You can tell I'm excited about it and have been for quite some time. It's going to be the biggest thing, I think, to hit us since the PC and the smartphone. This is the next big thing. It's going to take a little while to do it. There's some serious technical issues that we have to overcome, not the least of which, as I mentioned, power management. How are we going to power this thing? It's going to be challenging to get people to understand how to use it. I think those problems are easily solvable. We adapted to the smartphone very quickly in terms of being able to extract information from it to the point where it's even, consuming people getting information from it. Regardless of what the quality of information is, people learn how to use that tool. So I think augmented reality will be the same thing. The difficulty with Google Glass was it had what I referred to as the Google stare. And basically it was, you lost eye contact with people because they were staring up at the screen instead of facing you and talking to you. With properly designed augmented reality glasses, I will never take my eyes off of you. And so therefore, you will not be insulted by my apparent lack of attention, even though I might be scanning data while I'm looking at you, which is being overlaid on your face to tell me when your birthday is. So that's going to happen, and it's going to happen gradually. It's not going to be a cataclysmic change. It's going to happen gradually as Moore's Law makes things cheaper, faster, more accessible, and so forth. So promo items are new book coming out, comes out the end of March, I think. Buy it. And number two is we have a new report out also on VPUs, and there's some material outside on the desk about that VPU report. This is my email address. And I answer all email, and usually within 24 hours. I encourage you, if you have any questions, don't be shy. I'm happy to take the question. I don't find it a bother at all.